Hello again, everybody. Zacatech is here with my TNA Impact Wrestling review for this Thursday, June the 26th, 2014. Alright, still in Pennsylvania tonight. 3 more weeks before we head towards New York City. Of course, as we all know now, starting in New York, Six Sides is back. I'm so happy. And Paul, very happy that they're bringing back the Six Sides. Last week we had that Paul announced. And it was Ultra Man that Impact is bringing back Six Sides. Starting in New York, it is a permanent thing, not just a one-time only thing. So I'm glad to bring back the Six Sides. So in the next couple weeks, it'll be the last few weeks of four-sided ring in TNA. It's been 4 years since they made the four-sided ring in TNA since Hogan and Bischoff came in. So with that, as you see by the subtitle, we had a lot of things happen tonight, including the switching of the guard when it comes to who is the director of wrestling operations. I will give you my thoughts on the new wrestling operations director when we get to that point. Before we get to that point, we gotta get to the beginning. Start from the beginning of Impact. And a decent Impact at that, with a lot of things happening, including a very violent main event tonight. But before main event, we have an opening match. It is, of course, a Knockouts Tag Team match. Taryn Terrell, first match back, teaming up with Gail Kim against the Beautiful People, Velvet and Angelina. Now, we saw what happened last week. Gail Kim introducing Taryn Terrell back in the fold after a few months away, about a year away after having a baby. It's all Beautiful People crashed the party. And I knew there'd be some sort of tag team affair between these four women, and it happened tonight. And Taryn Terrell, she wasn't the best of knockouts. She still got a lot to learn. You know, she's still kind of a rookie because she came in a rookie and she got pregnant once as she was finally hitting a stride. So now she's kind of starting from the bottom again. She was acting a little rusty dusty in the beginning of the match. She got bubbled by both Angie and Velvet. But, you know, for being her first match back, especially, I'm glad it was a tag team match. Because I don't think Taryn should start off doing a singles match as a first match back. You know, have a tag team match, have a partner do all the heavy lifting. Which is exactly what Gail Kim kind of did in this matchup. She took care of both Beautiful People, of course, the Beautiful People being Sly Sticky, with a double team moves, and of course their big handling behind the referee's back. Thankfully, the referee was not Stifler. Yay, finally! That screwy ass, biased referee that kind of screwed over Gail, that stupidly booked matchup at Slammiversary Wrestling that made me ashamed of being a Knockouts fan. You know, that match sucked. I'm glad Stifler wasn't a referee. Which could do well for Gail, especially since Gail may end up getting another shot and a fair shake this time. Especially with the ending of the matchup with the Beautiful People saving each other's hides. They were getting drop kicked from the top by Taryn. She kind of botched the landing a little bit. She fell on top of him. She kind of botched getting off him a little bit. But that drop kick was all Gail needed to help her get the victory with the Eat the Feet for Angie and pinning the Knockouts champion. Signaling that Gail Kim will probably, like I said, get another title match against the Knockouts champ of Angelina Love. And like I said this time around, it'll probably be a fair shake when it comes to the referee. And as we all know, fair shake when it comes to the resident wrestling operations director situation. Of course, we began Impact with MVP flying high in celebration mode as last week under his ruling. With an iron fist last week, really showing abuse of power last week, making Eric Young defend the title not once but twice. First time against Kenny King, with Eric Young coming out the victor. But as we all know, he wasn't so lucky, with Bobby Lashley with screwiness galore and distractions galore from MVP and King, with everyone banned from the building. Did not help Eric Young. Bobby Lashley would take advantage and would get the TNA World Championship in his possession and in the possession of MVP's clique. So like I said, they had the power, and at the time, the authority, as they were celebrating with a little shindig in the ring. Celebrating their power-hungry ways. Until, of course, Eric Young would come in the frame, saying that I know you're in a celebration mode, but I'm going to tear you down. Tear the foundation down. From top to bottom. Then bang, Eric Young hit the wing. He had a little a sling on his arm, but he took that bitch off and just nailed the hell out of all three guys he came in. Just one guy. Until he was pummeled down by the MVP clique. But the same man who helped Eric Young last week after the match last week came out this week to save Eric Young again as the 3-on-1 was going down 2-on-1. Or should I say 2-on-3. As Bobby Roode, the suspended Bobby Roode at the time, would come out to make it kind of an even fight as he took care of MVP's clique. Of course, I thought Bobby Roode was going to come back last week. I called that. But I thought it was going to come out during the match against Bobby Lashley and EY. But we saw he came out after the match. But no matter what, B. Roode is back. And he wants his hands on MVP. It don't matter if he's suspended or not. He wanted a piece of MVP and his clique. Then all of a sudden we saw a member of the board of directors come out. And we saw Dixie Carter a little bit early in the evening in a backstage segment saying it's a good night to be Dixie Carter. Sources have told me, and it's been confirmed, it's going to be a great night where Dixie's been having a little war with MVP saying that you made my family bleed, we're going to make you bleed. Well, if the MVP's bleeding now, because as you see by the subtitle, the Director of Operations position was indeed vacant, as MVP was let go by this board of directors person. So MVP was let go of the operations, and he was, of course, fired under that. And we thought, and she thought as well, that Dixie Carter would indeed be once again Director of Operations. But as you see by the subtitle again, I'm glad it wasn't Dixie. I'm glad Dixie Carter was not Director of Operations. She would find out later on in the evening that she would not be the Director of Operations again. She's still President, as we all know, but she's not Director of Operations again. Thank God. And then during that little segment when Dixie Carter thought she was going to be Director again, Bully Ray would come out to crash the party. Taking on both Spud and also EC3 coming out. And there was a table laid out, a celebration table. Well, we've seen this for weeks. Once again, it was teased about Bully Ray getting his hands on Dixie Carter to get her through the table. This is probably the closest he ever gotten next to Slammiversary. He had her on top of her. He had her on top of his shoulders. He was ready to nail her through that table till Rockstar Spud moved the table out of the way. But as Bully Ray was setting it up again, EC3 pulled Dixie out from under the ring and avoided the table again. And I think, like, wrestling companies do this a lot. Like, I seriously don't believe they're ever going to put Dixie through the table. They tease it. In my mind, they should have done it in Slammiversary. Never been the payoff. But now, if they do it, it won't give a sweet satisfaction. Because they took so long to finally do it. But it's like these moments that they keep teasing us like this, and it makes us think, this is never going to happen. We're never going to see Bully Ray get Dixie through that. And we've seen the same kind of tease every week. But then out of nowhere, it could happen. But in my mind, until it happens, I don't think Dixie's going to go through that table. They're just going to tease it. Because Dixie's old. She's about, 45, 50? But hey, Bully Ray can put an 85-year-old at the time, Mae Young, through a table. He can put a 55-year-old woman through a table, being Dixie Carter. But this is TNA after all. Anywho, of course, if Dixie wasn't the director, who would be? Of course, we would find that out later on in the evening. Subtitle, of course, but still, I'll give you my comments on that, guys. We get towards the main event of the evening. So now, we have, of course, title match. Now, Sonata, the X Division champion, very happy champion. Of course, it was announced tonight that TNA Impact Wrestling is so bad in attendance in U.S. Hello, they couldn't even sell out a baseball stadium in America. Only 300 people in a minor league baseball stadium. So TNA has to have their big pay-per-view. Bound for Glory in October 12th. In Tokyo, Japan. That's why the first international TNA pay-per-view is in Japan. Like, I understand why Japan was chosen. Because of Sonata and the relationship they've had with New Japan Pro Wrestling right now. bringing Great Muta in a little bit earlier this year, and he's going to be in the tapings in New York. But I'm surprised that London wasn't chosen for the first TNA pay-per-view outside of America. Because London crowds have done London Impacts there, and London crowds are just insane. Not just for TNA, but for all wrestling, period. WWE, every time they go there, London crowds are nuts. Same with TNA. So I think London would have been a great crowd too. I'm surprised they didn't get the first international TNA pay-per-view. But I think Japan it'd be very interesting to see how they're going to tape it. Is it going to be tape delayed because of the time difference? That's going to be weird to have TNA international pay-per-view, with the time difference. But we'll see how they're going to deal with that as October nears, as it gets closer. But like I said, Sanada, X-Division champion. He had a lot of people wanting a shot at his title tonight. He had Crazy Steve from Menagerie. Of course, he was okay in that ladder match, the great six-way ladder match at Slammiversary. He had DJZ. Not happy he wasn't in the match, because he took on the Von Erichs with Jesse. He wanted a shot. And Manic, who was very impressive also in that six-way ladder match at Slammiversary, he wanted another shot at the champ. Surprised TV Uno wasn't involved, but anyway. Sanada's like, you want a shot, you want the shot, you want the shot, all three get shot. Basically, we had a fatal four-way now. And I'm happy, like I said in the beginning of the video, that 6 Sides is back. It's come back in the New York tapings, and in a few weeks, we're going to see it on television again. The best part about the X Division, back in the day, that's what made TNA TNA. The 6-sided ring helped the X Division out. And I cannot wait to see this new generation of X Division wrestlers finally wrestle in a 6-sided ring. Now, they've brought it back for one-time occasions, but they're bringing it back full-time again. I said it last week. I'll say it now. I don't think I said it last week, but I'll say it. This is TNA's last gasp. They're trying to save their business. TNA's got some, I've said it, stupid decisions in the past. Shitty decisions. This is probably one of the smartest decisions. To finally have the fans choose what they want. And finally listen to the fans. They should listen to the fans on everything. Not just this one poll. At least they finally listen to us and finally bring back the 6 sides. Like I said, what made TNA, what made them unique. So, till then, we saw the X Division guys in the 4-sided ring. But I cannot wait till the 6 sides is back. With these X Division generation guys. Great spots again from all 4 of these great guys. DNZ didn't do too bad. Of course, Manic got some big spots in. Crazy Steve. Cuckoo. He's just crazy. I haven't been the biggest fan of Menagerie if you've seen my reviews lately, because I hate the way they've been booked. They looked tough. They had a stupid segment with Kaz. I think lost their momentum after that stupid segment, because it just killed off any legitimacy they had. With this whole storyline about, Knox trying to save his family suckers. They wanted the big bucks, so they're trying to have Steve be the champion. So great fast-paced action. But despite Steve's efforts, and of course all the other efforts, with a big Tower of Doom move, some big Tornado DDT, some great spots, Sanada would of course 1 out with the victory with a big suplex in retaining the TNA X Division Championship. Now we all know Destination X is coming up. I kind of commented last week about the fact that Sanada is the current champ, and he has the option. He has option C available, cashing the X Division Championship for the opportunity to fight the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Now, this is the 3rd year this option has been available. Austin Aries was the first, 2012. He banked it in. He cashed it in. Last year, we saw Chris Sabin had a short reign as champion after cashing in option C. Sanada, I don't think he'll be champion. Even if he cashes it in. Especially now we have a heel champion now with Bobby Lashley. So, I don't think Sanada's ready. He's a good wrestler, but I don't think he's World Championship material. But if Eric Young can be World Champion, basically anyone can be World Champion now. If Eric Young can be World Champion, which I think Eric Young had a decent reign. For being a comedy guy, he was good. I love his show. Once again, cheap plug the Eric Young show. Being No Limits. Now on to our next matchup, of course, following the X Division match. We had a segment involving Dixie Carter. Thinking she was the new operation again. I'm so happy. And to be honest, I'm starting to like Spud a lot more. They need to come in. Spud, like he's got his gimmick. His gimmick is wearing fancy, funky, weird suits every week. Seriously. He's getting over with those funky ass suits, man. I don't know how much they pay for him, but that's a shtick. You know, came in with the leather look to be all Englandy, but now he's found his Nick as Dixie's lapdog, as people call him, and of course, Latchkey, chief of staff, whatever you want to call him. He's found his Nick's. He's a funny character, I'll give Spud credit. And he sells everything. And like I said, he's wearing those funky ass suits. That's what I think is getting him over with those weird suits every week. And they're very eclectic. Now on to our next matchup, a Slammiversary rematch. I'm glad they actually give these guys time to wrestle this week after the interference of the Cowboys at Slammiversary, of course, referring to James Storm and Mr. Anderson. I was looking forward to that Slammiversary match because they had a match a few weeks ago in Impact with a great back and forth action with James Storm spinning the beer in Anderson's face to get the victory. Then at Slammiversary, I thought it would be a good matchup, but I liked it, but I just thought it was tainted by the interference of the Cowboys. It was fun, but they should have given these guys more time to wrestle. Anderson won that one. This is kind of the woman match because each guys have had to win over each other. That's kind of a match, and this is the match that should have been at Slammiversary. No interference from the Cowboys, just like these guys wrestle. Great spots once again, great action, back and forth action from both these guys. Anderson tried his best to do his big moves. You know, Anderson tried to do the mic check, and of course, it was countered by Storm. Like Storm did the backstabber and the front move, and then that's when Anderson got back up trying to go for the mic check. Storm counted, bang! Last call, super kick. 1, 2, 3, victory for Anderson, losing to James Storm, winning this women match. Like I said, I think this feud is over in my mind. You know, with Storm getting the victory. This is, like I said, the women match. So I think this feud is over with Storm getting the victory. And Storm confronting Sonata backstage about the aforementioned Option C opportunity for Sonata to cash in his X Division Championship for the World title shot. I already commented on that just a few moments ago. So Storm got the victory. I think Anderson's feud has been great with him. Of course, Anderson lost tonight, but like I said, great feud. Great matches, great back and forth action. It should have been better feuding at the first initial match. But hey, it's been a fun little feud, of course. Storm's last feud was with Gunner. For the last couple weeks, we've seen Gunner kind of visiting, trying to help out Sam Shaw, speaking of Anderson. Anderson's last feud, after sending Shaw to the Looney Bin. We've seen his art. It's actually done by Sam Shaw. A few weeks ago, we saw Shaw doing art. And now this week, a great art, by the way. This week, we saw Gunner coming yet again to the asylum and said to Sam Shaw, "You are free. You are released by your doctors, but under my supervision." That's the catch. And Sam Shaw said, "Okay." So apparently, this relationship with Gunner and Shaw, you know, Gunner trying to help out Sam Shaw and trying to be a good person to help Shaw get out of the loony bin. It's kind of a unique situation. See how this fails out, as apparently Sam Shaw will be returning to the Impact Zone very soon. See how this all fails out with this little friendship. Let's just say that. Little friendship going on with Gunner and Mr. Shaw. Now on to the main event. The Monsters Ball match. I knew these four were going to tag team. Especially after what happened. Speaking of what also happened at Slammiversary with Bram and Abyss being the factor in the matchup. Like affecting the ending of the matchup between Hardy and Magnus. And now, tonight, we had, of course, a Monsters Ball tag team. Bram and Magnus taking on Willow and Abyss. Now, Abyss and Willow, they've been in Monsters Balls before. This is basically Abyss's wheelhouse. And this is a very violent Monsters Ball match. My only quip, I wish there was more blood. At least we had Bram bloodied up. We saw more blood in this Monsters Ball match than we did in the Texas Death match between Angle and... not Angle, but Bully Ray and EC3 at Slammiversary. We only saw blood on the chest, not the head, as we saw. There were some great spots in this matchup. Very fun and very violent match. We saw probably, like, Bram got a lot of hits in the trash can. Like, the trash can was used, a lot of weapons used with the candlesticks. And Bram being stuck in the corner, getting nailed with the trash can. Another great spot was Abyss getting handcuffed. And then like Willow was just getting pummeled by both Bram and Magnus, just beating him with candlesticks. And then Abyss would break loose. As many times we saw like Abyss pulled out Janice. And he was teasing the use of Janice many times during the matchup. And other uses would be teased by Bram and Magnus wanting to use it. And it was stuck to the rope because Abyss was trying to use it one time and it got stuck to the rope. Turnbuckle, should I say. So as Bram and Magnus were trying to go for the 2x4 of nails, that's when Abyss broke loose from the handcuff and just came in like a house of fire. And the last two spots were probably my favorites. Couple spots, like the last 2 or 3 spots. Like the last 5 minutes was just the craziest part of the matchup. With Hardy and Abyss getting back in full swing after Magnus and Bram took control with the use of the weapons. But then as Hardy was going to do a big move off the top, early in the matchup we saw a board of barbed wire being put between the apron and a barricade over the top turnbuckle in one corner. Hardy was going for a big move, and then he was put through the barbed wire by being knocked off the top rope as Magnus threw the steel chair right at Hardy and made him fall through that barbed wire board. That was a fun spot, great spot, very violent spot for that. So I thought it would be like someone being chokeslammed through it on the floor, not being knocked off the top rope onto it, like Hardy. And then, of course, the tax would be brought into play. Despite being blocked, I think Bram was going through it, but then it was blocked by Magnus. But then Magnus ate the tax. He ate it, got chokeslammed through those tacks by Abyss. But of course, Bram was left with Willow out with the knocked up on the barbed wire board. Magnus being put through the tacks. It was Bram and Abyss left. And then Bram took Janice from the turnbuckle. And correct me if I'm wrong. Tonight, what Bram did, we saw the first ever on-screen use of Janice tonight. We've seen Janice teased being used, but the times that Janice was used in storylines, it was always used off-screen. We never saw the attack. We never saw anyone literally use it on screen. But tonight, we saw Bram hit Abyss in the chest with that 2x4 of nails. And God, like being put through a barbed wire board, that hurt. That has to hurt. Being put through a pile of tacks, that has to hurt as well. But I think the biggest pain would be getting hit in the groin, in the gut, with a barbed wire, not barbed wire, but a 2x4 with nails on top. Like that, the fucking hurt big time for Abyss. It's just the impact of that. Nails, 2x4 just being nailed in Abyss's chest. And the pin from Bram after that hit, by the way, from Janice. Very violent matchup, very fun matchup. I can't believe that Magnus and Bram are getting over big time. I think the friendship is working. The bonusship's working. You know, Magnus won at Slammiversary, pinning Hardy. And then we saw Bram tonight pinning Abyss. Not just that, he won by using Abyss's own weapon, Janice. Now, ironically, at Slammiversary, Magnus won over Hardy by the distraction of Bram being chased by Abyss to be threatened to be hit by Janice. So I wanted that tonight, that Bram would get the win by nailing Abyss with that same weapon that he was threatened to be hit with at Slammiversary, being Janice. So very violent matchup with Abyss and Hardy on the losing end, with Bram and Magnus getting the victory. But I think this feud ain't over yet. Despite the win in a very violent matchup with Bram getting the victory, you know, I think this feud's not over yet. War might be over soon because Hardy's going to challenge Bobby Lashley for the World Heavyweight Championship in a few weeks in New York City. Well, that's if Bobby Lashley can get through his rematch next week against Eric Young for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. That match was made by the new Director of Wrestling Operations named Kurt Angle. Now, here's my thoughts on Kurt Angle being Director of Operations. I'm glad they finally got a face Director of Operations again. But I hope Angle doesn't do like MVP did. Come in as a face, but then turn heel. And then be power hungry. And be like a male version of Dixie Carter like MVP was. But in my mind, the only reason why I think Kurt Angle is the Director of Operations is TNA's attempt to not let Kurt Angle jump ship. Because as you know, Angle's injured right now. You know, like, okay, Kurt Angle's injured right now. But his contract's almost up. We need to find a way to keep him on the contract while injured so he won't jump ship to WWE. Aha! Let's make him Director of Wrestling Operations. That's what I think. To make Angle not leave the company while injured, they made him stay on as Director of Operations. So as he would come out and declare himself as Director of Operations, MVP would give Kurt Angle a rude welcoming, saying that you may be Director of Operations, you have the authority, we still have the power, we have the champ in the house, Lashley. And that's what Angle declared. And he was threatened to be beat up by all three guys. Because Angle being injured, he's like, you touch me, you're all fired. But indeed, I'd like to announce, like I said, Angle announced that Bobby Lashley will defend against Eric Young next week in a rematch from last week for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. We'll see if Angle bans everybody from ringside to make it a fair shake. Speaking of giving things fair shakes, like when Gail Kim gets a rematch against Angelina, I hope it's a fair shake with no screwy-ass referees. And when Eric Young gets his rematch, he'll probably get a fair shake too. Because I think Angle's going to be more fair than MVP is as a heel. And I was like, oh, by the way, I reinstated somebody. I think we all knew he was going to be reinstated no matter what, because MVP is gone. So Bobby Roode is officially reinstated in TNA. Of course, Eric Young's still wearing that sling again. But like he did before, he took that sling off and ran to the ring with Roode and just beat the crap out of MVP's clique. That's how he ended Impact, with the brawl going on between MVP and his clique, and Roode and EY just brawling in the ring. And like I said, we got EY against Lashley next week for the championship. Of course, if Lashley retains, I think that's kind of a spoiler. Because Lashley's slated to defend against Hardy. But we'll see what happens with Lashley and EY. This might have been a spoiler. But no matter what, Lashley will fight Hardy either as champ or not to keep storyline sync with EY next week for the championship. Of course, I think either next week's the last week in Philly, or in 2 weeks is the last week in Philly. They're taping on the New York tapings right now this week. And they'll air, of course, in a few weeks with the return of Six Sides. That is it for my TNA Impact Wrestling review for this Thursday night. And y'all been attacked by the review from Zach. Once again, thank you all very much for watching. Have a great weekend, everybody. See ya. Yeah.